Well, I've got the calculator out, okay, in terms of the end of the Premier League season. This is the only way I could decide who I think is going to win the Premier League title. I've said Manchester City from the start. But that draw at the Etihad at the weekend for me was a huge missed opportunity. And so I've gone through the remaining fixtures where I think the teams will drop points. And I do think they will both drop points. For me, the trickiest games for Manchester City, away at Leeds, West Ham and Wolves, all away from home, all tricky matches for Manchester City. And I think they're going to draw two of them, one at Wolves and one at Leeds. Leeds have loved playing against Manchester City. They've just matched them with that intensity. They've caused so many problems. And I also think Wolves are just a difficult team to break down. And at Molineux in front of their fans, I think that's a really tricky contest for them. So if Manchester City drop 2 games, and draw them both, what happens to Liverpool? Well, I actually think at home to Manchester United and Everton, light work for Liverpool. They're going to be, they're just easy victories. I'm looking through it, and I know people think that Liverpool may have the harder run in. I think their game at home to Tottenham is the only game in which they'll drop points. I've called that as a draw. They're at home to Wolves, and I think in front of the crowd at Anfield, they will definitely win that. No one else is going to cause them any trouble. And that means, by my metrics, by my calculations, Liverpool win the title by a point. There you go. It's settled.
Okay. I've put my calculator down, guys, because it's nonsense. You can't be doing this kind of stuff. It can't be done. And I look at these games, and actually, you can spin them constantly. Newcastle, and they lost 5-1 the other day, but generally, they've had a really, really good defence in the last, since Eddie Howe's been in, but in particular since January, the January window slammed shut, it always does. Leeds United have been much better defensively. I know both teams have, Man City have got to take them on. But this is what I mean. I could just go round in circles. And the other thing that a few people are saying, Gary Neville said it, you're saying it as well. Man United and Everton, yes, they're both in terrible form, but these are huge games. Huge games. And there is a tax on that, I think, at times, especially when you get near the end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool win those games, but they aren't gimmies. They're really not gimmies, be it for a draw to hang on or for a victory for the other two, just because those kind of things happen in those games. Yes, I expect Liverpool to win those games. I expect both these teams to win every single game to the end of the season, let's be honest. The one that I really am interested about is West Ham, actually, for Man City, away from home. And if they're not in Europe anymore and still trying to get into Europe for next season, that could make it very, very different. But I'm going to stick with what I said from the start of the season. And I look at that game at the weekend differently. I look at that game and I saw utter dominance from Man City. And I just think I think they'll get over the line. I really do. I think there might be one or two games. Yes, they have been so clinical, Liverpool, at times. I just think Man City will have enough. I really, really do. So much quality, dominate every single game. And when we're talking about stats and bits and pieces like that, it's just that dominance for me with Man City that I think they will actually win it. They will win the Premier League, but it could be goal difference, which I know Liverpool have in hand at the moment, or it could be outright. But I'm going to stick with Man City for now. Let's move on to top four, Hugh, because I went with Arsenal a few weeks ago. And again, the Allcott jinx in full effect. They've had a couple of those injuries, which was the thing that we were concerned about when it came to Arsenal. Had a lovely amount of momentum, but losing to Crystal Palace, losing to Brighton, they're now looking like they're going to struggle. Do you think this is a simple one? This is done and dusted? Because Spurs weren't great against Villa, despite somehow winning 4-0.
Yeah, if Spurs keep up the goal-scoring form, I don't see anyone catching up with them. I think the last few fixtures of back-to-back defeats for Arsenal is just going to cost them, unfortunately. That is a major disappointment from where they were, ahead of everyone with games in hand. But you just can't be losing these games. It's that tight. And if Tottenham keep winning, keep scoring goals, you just can't look beyond them, actually. There seems to be that cohesion, huge impact from Dejan Kulusevski and Rodrigo Bentancur. Even those wing-backs that have been derided by the Tottenham fans have started putting in great performances. They've just settled into his way of football. And like I say, if it continues, it's not that big an if for me, then you'd have to say Spurs, fourth place. Real disappointment for Manchester United, of course, but they've just fallen off a cliff, falling apart. Less said, the better.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, you don't even chuck them in the conversation, do you? I think you're right. They're the favourite Spurs. I want to stick with Arsenal because I did make the shout on it. So I'm going to stick with Arsenal. Come on, Arsenal fans. But I would expect Spurs to get there. But what would be lovely, very, very nice, I think it's May the 12th. Spurs against Arsenal, the game that got cancelled. That could be incredibly important. And down the bottom of the table, huge victory for Everton against Manchester United. Very disappointing defeat for Burnley after Burnley beat Everton, of course, in midweek. In terms of the relegation spots, who are your bottom three now? Because that was huge for Everton. Do you think that makes them safe?
Just about. Actually, not really their result. I mean, the fact that Burnley didn't beat Norwich, that has to be your banker in terms of staying up. You need to win that match. You need to give yourself a chance. And I actually think Everton put that pressure on them by beating Manchester United, and they didn't really cope with it. Was already a must-win game, but once you saw that 4-point gap open up, you just had to win it. I mean, even a draw wouldn't have done you. And I think Burnley coped pretty badly with that. And at the end of the day, I think it might be them that goes down. I say might. They don't lose as many games as the others. There's a lot of draws in there, but draws just don't look like they're going to be enough now.
I'm actually giving Burnley a little bit of hope here because I still think Everton have got some very difficult fixtures coming up. And when I look at Burnley's fixtures, they've got West Ham next up, which I know is difficult, but then they've got Southampton, Wolves, Watford, Aston Villa, Spurs, Aston Villa again, and Newcastle United. I'm not saying they're easy games, but they are winnable games against a lot of teams that don't have a huge amount to play for, or their teams in and around them. So I don't think this is as done and dusted as people think right now. Again, I made these predictions a little while ago, and I said Everton would go down. I think there is still a lot of pressure on them and a couple of bad defeats. And, the fan base is not happy with everything that's happened there. Yes, you got a victory against Man United, and they were strong in that game. They were. But I think it was the fans that powered them on, and it's been the fans that have powered them on at home. That might be the difference that might get them over the line. But Burnley aren't out of this yet. Watford feels like it's a bit too much. Norwich, certainly so. But Burnley have still got a chance to stay up, in my opinion. Hi guys, James Allcott here from ESPN's Football Forecast. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and you want to check out more, make sure you subscribe to ESPN UK.